Huyu alienda shughuli zake. Weka pause hapa. Good evening, class. Today we are doing that is introduction to demand and supply, and I hope that is all of us will going to enjoy the lesson for today. And in this lesson we are going to check on the demand and supply, and that will be the end of our lesson today. So my name is Shem, and now we can look at the objective of our lesson today. By the end of the lesson, learners, we should be able to define what demand curve is, to define what supply curve is, and number 3, to identify equilibrium price and quantity. So those are the 3 objectives that we are going to meet today. We define what demand is, what the supply is, and we familiarize ourselves with the equilibrium price and quantity. So we'll start by defining what demand is. And then demand is the total quantity of products and services consumers are willing and able to buy in a market. And supply refers to how much of a certain product suppliers are willing to make available at the market. While equilibrium price is when quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. So in our first case, we have defined what demand is. We have said there is a quantity of product or services consumers are willing and able to buy in a market. So in a market, like let's say in a market, the buyers or consumers are willing to buy 10,000 crates of mangoes. That is what demand is. They are willing and able to buy at the prevailing price. And we have seen the now supply is the number of quantity that suppliers are willing to supply in the market at the prevailing price. And now equilibrium price is when the demand is equal to supply. Whatever is demanded in the market is the same quantity that is supplied at the market. That is when we say there is equilibrium in the market. And in that sense is when we say equilibrium price, when the supply and the demand equals to each other. So you go further, that is to look on demand curve. You see that is a curve from demand curve. You see that is it slopes down from left to right, as you can see on our diagram there. The curve is going down from left to right from demand curve. And in this case, on the y-axis there is price, and on the x-axis we have quantity. And in our first instance, where there is day 1 at price 5, the quantity demanded for this product, maybe let's use a mango as an example, was 50 pieces at 5 shillings per each. And when the price went down to 3 shillings, the demand automatically that is increased to 100. And this clarifies that is the definition of our demand curve, where we say that is the amount of quantity of product or service that buyers or consumers are willing to buy at the market at the prevailing price. And in this case, we can say that is a demand curve. On demand curve, the higher the price, the lower the demand, and the lower the price from where you can see where I'm pointing. When the price goes down, then the quantity increases. So the lower the price, the higher the demand. And now we can be able now to look on the supply curve. Supply curve, that is, we say that is a quantity of services suppliers are willing, that is to make available in the market at a given price. And now the supply curve is opposite of the demand curve. You see this one is sloping from right to left, and you can see on the y-axis where we have the price. When the price was 40, the suppliers were willing to supply 60 pieces of mango in the market, or blend for this case. And when the price went to 80 shillings, then this amount, the product supplied in the market, it increased to 100. Opposite to the demand curve, you can see there is a positive relationship in this curve. When the price is high, then the quantity supplied is high. When the price goes down, the supply goes down. And in this case, we see the supply curve has a positive relationship with the price, and for the demand curve, we say that it has a negative relationship between the demand and the price. And that is the summary that is explained in our next slide, where we say supply curve has a positive relationship, which makes the curve slope upward. And we have seen that is a positive relationship is where when the price increases, also the quantity supplied increases. When the price goes down, the supply also goes down. This one is explained by this illustration that is taken from the graph above there. And so for today, we can conclude a supply curve has a positive relationship, and now we realize where the positive relationship comes from. And then we can now go on a price quantity equilibrium. This is where the intersection of demand and supply. When the demand, this is the demand curve, and this is the supply curve, and you can see that the demand curve is flowing as we said from left to right, and supply is sloping down from right to left. And in this case, you can see at price P and quantity Q, where the demand and the supply intersect each other. This is where we say there is equilibrium in the market, as we understand earlier. And now in case, let's say the price goes up, and when the price goes up, what we expect to the supply, we expect that is the supply to increase and demand to decrease. And in this case is what leads to surplus in the market, because there is high supply, but what is the demand end is little due to high prices. But when the price moves down to where I'm pointing, then when the price goes down, the demand will increase automatically, and the supply will reduce, creating that a shortage in the market, as you see on the diagram below there. And now that is a good summary that is of demand and supply and equilibrium, and we can now be able to see that is what happens in the market. When the demand is more than the supply, then we say there is shortage in the market, and when supply is more than the demand, we say there is a surplus in the market.
Excuse me, Malik.
Yes, please, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, Peter.
I'm seeing that from the table that you are showing at price quantity equilibrium,
Yes.
there is the color, I say orange,
Yes.
and there's indication that not the other one, the other slide.
You're checking on slide for supply and demand, Amma?
The one that you have just talked about, equilibrium.
Yes.
So I wanted yes, that one thing.
Yes.
So you said equilibrium, I didn't get it well. Can you kindly, because I'm just seeing P and Q.
Oh, all right.
Close.
Oh, you see where the the equilibrium point is pointing?
I see a letter.
That is that arrow
Yes.
for equilibrium.
I'm seeing a letter P and Q. What are those?
Q is the quantity supplied or on demand end in the market. Always on the x-axis, we have the quantity, and on y-axis, we have the price. So P stands for price. It can be any price. It can be 10, 20, 40. And on the x-axis, we have the quantity. The quantity demanded in the market and the quantity supplied in the market. That is represented by letter Q.
Thank you, Malik.
Oh, now you understand now where the equilibrium coming from.
Yes, Malik.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And now with that diagram, we can be able to summarize that is what we have learned today. But before we do the last summary, we have a little video here. Let's see, I hope we will be able to see it so that it can do the summary for lesson today. Hope the class you can hear.
Yes, Malik, you can see.
So the video that is explains what we have covered today about the demand and supply. Let's 2 minutes, then it will be done. I'll send the video to your WhatsApp groups for more clarification, but it's doing that the summary of what we have done today. And now we have the assignment here. Using draw equation, draw and demand curve and supply curve and find the equilibrium price. The first equation is for demand and the second equation is for supply. Draw those two equations and find the intersection of the two of them, so that now you can be able to identify the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. And these are
supposed to give out the assignment.
this assignment I'll collect it in our next class, so a week from today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and you have a nice week, and that marks the end of our lesson today.
You too, Mwalimu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.